Welcome to the sewing tutorial for the Solace Mastectomy Pillow. We will be making style B with the adjustable shoulder strap, and as on both styles, there will be a pocket for a cold pack. Let's get started. I have my front, my back, and my pocket pieces. I will be sewing style B with the adjustable strap, so I have my 14-inch strap, my two 1.5-inch strap attachments, my 2 rings, and my slider. To begin, we're going to make the hem on the pocket. So I'll put aside my front and back pieces for now. And you will want to press 1/2 inch down along the top. Now, to make this a clean finish, you will want to turn in the raw edge towards the fold and press it again so that you have a 1/4 inch total hem here, and we will be sewing near this inner edge. Now we have the hem all pressed. We will be sewing near this folded edge, and I will be using white thread so that you can see what I'm doing. You will want to use a matching thread. Here it is along the wrong side and the right side. Now you will want to take your front. The front and back look the same, but maybe you cut them in different colors, I don't know. Take your front and lay it right side up. And now take your pocket that you just finished and also have it right side up, and you will want to align all the raw edges to put your pocket in place. And now you can add some pins to keep it there while we do other things. You do have the option of basting your pocket to the front. If you don't feel comfortable working with multiple layers of fabric, you can baste the pocket on just so you don't have to worry about it. I'm just going to put a few pins in here. And then we will be putting on the strap attachments. If you were making style A with the long shoulder ties, this is the point where you would be adding your straps up here between the notches. I cut my notches. Hopefully you can see that right there. And on this other side up here. But if you're making the adjustable strap, you'll want to take your 1.5 pieces of ribbon or strap elastic. I'm using bra strap elastic in this sample, and your 2 rings. So take your, whatever you're using here. I'm using elastic, thread it through the ring and fold it in half. And then put it between the notches here against the right side. You can pin it if you want to. I actually prefer to not pin it. This is so thick it would get distorted, so I'm just going to pinch this with my fingers, take it over to my machine, and I'm going to baste within the seam allowance. So that means I'm going to sew this less than 1/4 inch. We have a 1/4 inch seam allowance on this pattern, so just sew it on to keep this attached. I have my strap attachment attached. I sewed it, about 1/8 inch. And so that's within the seam allowance, and now I will repeat for the other side. Where's my other notch? There it is. Now I have both attachments attached, and we will be putting the front and back pieces together, and still put the front and back right sides together. The pocket is in the middle here, and just align all the edges. If you have just pinned your pocket on like I have, you will need to move the pins and repin through all the layers. You'll want to be sure and leave an opening so that you can turn your pillow out and stuff it. I like to leave the opening in the middle of the upper part of the pillow up here. Initially on some of my samples I left it open on the side above the pocket, and I found it was kind of hard to stuff the opposite side. So it's just easier to leave it in the middle here where it's relatively straight. And I like to leave double pins so that I know where to start and stop, and I won't accidentally sew closed my opening. I recommend about a 3-inch opening. You can see it's about 3 inches on the marks on my cutting board here, or cutting mat. And let's see. When you get up to these strap attachments, you should be far away from the rings with your seam allowance. It should be okay. You'll just want to make sure that your rings haven't slipped up. You won't want to sew over that metal, so just be sure that they're out of the way. If you're using straight shoulder ties, you'll want to be sure that the ties are out of the seam allowance as well. As you can see, I have pins going in both directions. Just pin whichever way works best for you. Now I will be sewing a 1/4 inch all the way around, leaving this section open. All right, I have sewn all the way around, and I left my opening here. Oh, I have a thread sticking out, and I made sure to back stitch quite a bit at the beginning and end, just so that this stitching doesn't accidentally come undone. Now we will want to clip our curves. And I'm only going to clip the very curviest of places, which would be here and around the top edges of the upper parts of the pillow here. I think this curve along the bottom is so gentle that you probably don't need to clip it, but you can if you want to. And I'm just cutting towards, but not all the way to the stitching. I'm placing my clips about 1/4 inch apart. I usually prefer to trim my seam allowance as opposed to clipping, but on this pattern, I'm doing clips. Okay, and then we'll clip this side. And clipping just helps release some of the tension in the fabric so that when you turn it, you have a nice, smooth curve. After I'm done clipping here, I'm going to press just to set my stitching in place, and then we will turn. Now it's time to turn our pillow right side out. Hopefully you can get your hand in there. I'm just grabbing my strap attachments. That's going to help me pull it out. I'm going to try not to manhandle this too much. Okay. And the pocket always tries to turn the wrong way. So I'm just going to press this out with my fingers the best I can. You don't have to worry too much about pressing it, because once we stuff the pillow, that's going to press against the seams here and help fully turn them all out. You can press it though with the iron if you want to. Okay, now if you have done style A, you will be ready to stuff your pillow, but if you're like me and you've done style B, we need to make our shoulder strap. So we're going to set aside the pillow for now, and I'm going to get my long strap elastic and my slider. So I have my strap right side up. I'm going to, take my slider and go from the bottom up over the middle bar and pass it down on the other side. Hopefully. Okay. Now I'm going to turn it over to the wrong side and press this back. You can see the slider will turn either way. And we're going to want to secure this with 2 lines of stitching. One near the edge of the cut edge to keep it from fraying, and another just to secure it in place. And if you are able to move your needle position, get as close to the slider. I like to have it on top when I'm sewing. Get as close to the slider as you can without having the slider pass underneath the foot. That wouldn't be good. And you might want to use a zipper foot if you weren't able to move your needle position. One more thing. It's easiest to start in the middle of the strap and then go forward and then backward and then forward again. Don't try and start on the edge and then go forward. It's too much of a difference in height with the bulk. Okay, I have my 2 lines of stitching here. I'm going to trim my thread ends. Ooh, lots of thread ends. Okay. So now here's perhaps the only tricky bit. we're going to attach our strap through the strap attachments. Oh look, I missed trimming a thread. That's not surprising. I always have lots of thread ends. Okay. So I have my strap, and I'm going to, wrong side up, threading it through the ring. Bring this up. I have my slider. This is the wrong side facing up here, and I'm making sure my strap is not twisted. And we're going to go up over the middle bar of the slider and back down again and tighten it. So now the right side of the strap should be on top. There's no twists. We're able to move the slider and adjust the strap to whatever size we want. Now, still making sure it's flat and not twisted, we'll go through the ring on the other side, fold it back. And now I'm going to do the same thing of sewing twice, once near the cut edge and then the next line as close as I can get to the ring. You'll want to start in the middle and go forward, then backward, then forward again. Now I will trim my threads and just this little bit of strap that's sticking out because I cut it just a little crooked, and trim all my threads. And now we are ready for stuffing. So now we have the opening at the top, and I actually like to press the opening at this point. It'll just be easier when we go to sew the opening close later on. Once it's stuffed, it becomes really hard to press, and you don't want to melt your stuffing, so if you have any final pressing to do, do it now before we put the stuffing in. So there's my pillow, and now I just need my stuffing. Okay, so I have my, this is my first wad of stuffing here. I'm probably going to need several of these. It's really surprising just how much stuffing can go into your pillow. So it really helps to take small bits and put them in. It becomes less lumpy. I know it's tempting to use big handfuls, but then you end up with a lumpy pillow, and I don't think that would be very comfortable. So try to use small handfuls. And I begin by pressing them up into the arms, so to speak, of this pillow. And just to be sure those parts get really stuffed, and then move my way down to the middle. If you have trouble pushing the stuffing all the way back into the arms, you might want to use the eraser end of a pencil or a pen with the cap on, and to just help you push your stuffing where it needs to go. Maybe even a spoon might work for that. Use some sort of utensil. Don't use scissors. Scissors might poke through your fabric. The level of stuffing is really up to you. You could stuff this to the max and have a big fluffy pillow. I'm going to do probably a sort of medium amount of stuffing. That's really up to you. I'm getting near the end here with stuffing, and I'm just trying to squeeze it a little bit and make sure that the stuffing is evenly distributed on the inside. There aren't some holes or less filled parts. And I want to make sure that all these edges are filled out properly as well. And I just have this little bit in the middle left. I think I've taken about 4 handfuls of this out of my stuffing bag, so it really is surprising how much you can use. Almost near the end. I think I could do one small handful more. Okay, I feel like that's pretty full, maybe just a little bit. You don't want to make it too difficult for yourself to close the opening. You know, if it's super stuffed right near the top, that's going to be hard to sew closed. Okay, so I'm just giving a final squeeze here to make sure that it's filled the way that I want it to be filled. And now we will need to sew this top opening closed. And what I like to do is, I already have my seam allowances pressed in, so I like to pinch them together and just pin it a little bit so that I have the edges close together and I don't have to fight with it too much. And I'm just putting my pins down a little bit from the edge. Now they're maybe 1/8 of an inch. So I have that close. So now I'm going to get my hand sewing needle and some thread, and we're going to sew a ladder stitch. Okay, I've actually undone my pins. I decided maybe it would be easier for you to see what I was doing if it wasn't pinned, but it's easier for me to sew with the opening pinned closed. So I have my hand sewing needle with some thread that is doubled. I have my knot on the end. So the first thing we will want to do, oops, my hand caught on my thread here. First thing we will want to do is to come up from the inside up to the top so we can hide our knot. I actually already sewed this closed once and then you couldn't see what I was doing on the video. So I ripped it out, we're gonna do it again. So I came up from the bottom and you can see I'm on the top of the fabric now. So the way the ladder stitch works is we're going to take small stitches from one side and the other side and just go back and forth like a ladder. And then once you pull it closed, your stitches should become nearly invisible. The trick is to take small stitches. So here I'm going to take a small bite on this side. I've already pressed back my seam allowance. That was about 1/8 of an inch. And now I'm going to take another small stitch on the opposite side. If you're right-handed, you will be working from right to left. I'm left-handed, so I'm going in this direction. Oops. My threads are getting tangled already. So here I'm leaving the stitches loose so you can see what they will look like. Normally I just pull them tight as I go. Some people like to keep them loose. So we just work from one side and go over to the other side. So my fabric's starting to fray a little bit, so I want to be careful there. And then you pull them closed and the stitches pretty much disappear. So you, of course, will be using thread that matches. I'm using white thread so you can see what I'm doing. You'll want to go all the way across your opening. I'm at the end now, and you might be wondering, how do I finish this off? Well, everybody's going to have their own method. I like to do 2 overhand knots, and then I will hide my thread tail. So I'm going to do an overhand knot, press it close to the fabric and pull it through. Do another one. You can see my knot right up against the fabric. Now I will pass my needle under about 1 inch all the way into the pillow and pull it back up on the other side. Ooh, without losing my grip on it. Pull my thread tight and clip it. And now that thread tail will disappear into the pillow. If you've used thread that matches, it will blend in better than mine does. So I hope you enjoyed our sewing tutorial. To purchase this pattern and other mastectomy care items, please visit our website at www.primrosedawn.com. Happy sewing!